Daf Yomi, Tractate Makos, page 7b. We finished the Mishnah and now we're starting the Gemara. It's one line in the Gemara with the words Mina Hanimili. Okay, the Gemara says Mina Hanimili, Mina Hanimili, Mina Hanimili. Damar Shmuel, Damar Kram, Vayapel Alav, Vayamos, Ad Shipol Derek Tefillah. The Gemara asks with regard to the principle that one is exiled only if he killed unintentionally through a downward motion. From where are these matters derived? It is derived from a verse, as Shmuel says that the verse states with regard to those exiled to a city of refuge, and he casts it down upon him and dies. Numbers 35:23, indicating that one is not liable to be exiled unless the item falls in a downward motion. Tanarabana Mishkoga, Prat lemezid, Beli das, Prat lemis kaven. The sages taught in Braita derivations from verses written with regard to the unintentional murder, unintentionally. Numbers 35:11, to exclude from exile the one who kills intentionally, unawares. Deuteronomy 19 verse 4, to exclude from exile the one who kills with intent. Mezid, Pshita, Barkatalahu, Ela Amarava, Ema Prat, Leomer Mutar, Amarle Abaye, E Omer Mutar, Anusu, Amarle, Shani Omer, Omer Mutar, Karova Mezidhu. The Gemara asks, why is a derivation necessary to exclude one who kills intentionally? It is obvious that he is not exiled, he is subject to the death penalty. Rather, Rava said, say that the type of intentional killer referred to is meant to exclude the one who says that it is permitted to kill the victim. The verse teaches that this person is neither executed nor is he exiled. Abaye said to Rava, if the reference is to one who says that it is permitted, he is a victim of circumstance beyond his control, as he did not know any better. How could that be characterized as intentional? Rava said to him, that is not a problem, as I say that with regard to one who says it is permitted, his action borders on the intentional. Okay, Blidas, Pradlim Miskaven Pshita, Barkatalahu Amr Rabba, Pradlim Miskaven, Laharogas Habehema, Veragas Adam Lagoy, Verag Es Yisrael, Lenefel, Verag Ben Kayama. The right to say unawares to exclude from exile the one who kills with intent. The Gemara asks with intent. It is obvious that he is not exiled. He is subject to the death penalty. Rava said the reference is to exclude the one who acted with intent to kill an animal and he killed a person inadvertently, or one who had acted with the intent to kill a Gentile and he killed a Jew. Okay, not my words. I'm just reading it. They're saying here if he intended to kill a Gentile, he killed a Jew, then he is liable. Or one who acted with the intent to kill a non-viable newborn, and he killed a viable newborn. Okay. Tana Rabbanan, Im Bipesa, Prada Geran Zavis, Blievam, Prada Zoine, Hadafo, Shidach Legufoy, Ojichalav, the Havirin Shen, She Zoirech, Aliyah Belozid, Zidia. Prat Lemskavin, the Tzad Zev, Alacha, the Tzad Acher. The Halcha Tzad Acher. Let's say just talking about Braita based on the verse written with regard to an unintentional murderer. And if suddenly, without enmity, he thrust him or cast upon him any vessel, without lying in wait, Numbers 35:22. If suddenly this serves to exclude one who unintentionally kills another that he encounters at a corner. Without enmity, this serves to exclude one who unintentionally kills his enemy, as even if the act appears unintentional, the presumption is that it was not. He thrust him. This indicates that even if he unintentionally shoved him with his body and killed him, he is liable to be exiled, or cast upon him It serves to include a case of a downward motion that is for the purpose of an upward motion. For example, if one bent down in order to lift an item from the ground, and in the process of bending down he killed another intentionally, he is exiled. Without lying in wait, this serves to exclude one who had the intent to throw a stone to this side, and it went to a different side and killed a person. V'asher lo tzada. Prat b'skam is rok shtayim is zarak arba. V'asher yavo esriyelu b'yar. Ma yar rishus lenizak v'lamazik l'kayes sham af kol rishus lenizak v'lamazik l'kayes sham. And it is written with regard to an unintentional murderer and who did not lie in wait, Exodus 21:13. This serves to exclude one who had intent to throw a stone 2 cubits and he inadvertently threw it 4 cubits and killed a person. And it is written concerning an unintentional murderer, and as one who goes with his neighbor into the forest, Deuteronomy 19:5, from which is derived just as a forest is ownerless property, and there's permission for the victim and for the assailant to enter there. So too, in unintentional murder, it occurs in any place where there is permission from the victim and for the assailant to enter there is punishable with exile. The unintentional murder of one who entered the assailant's property without his permission is not cause for the murderer to be exiled. By mine Rav Abahu Rav Yochanan hayole besulam nishmita sheliva mitachtav nafla varag mahu ki hay gavna aliyah hu he o yurida he amar le kvar negat birida shehi sarach aliyah. The Gemara cites a related discussion. Rav Abahu raises a dilemma for Yochanan. If one was ascending a ladder, and the rung was displaced from beneath him, and the rung fell and killed another, what is the halacha with regard to his being exiled? In a case like this, is it considered killing in an upward motion as he was climbing the ladder, and therefore he is exempt, or is it considered killing in a downward motion as when he stepped on the rung, he pushed it down, and therefore he is liable? Yochanan said to him, in the scenario you described, you already touched upon the case on the right that's cited above, the case of unintentional murder that is performed with a downward motion that is for the purpose of an upward motion. The ruling of the bright is that one is liable to be exiled in that case. Eisvei ze haklal kol shebederech yiridasa goyle shelo bederech yiridasa negoyle shelo bederech yiridasa leisoi mai lav lasoi kahai gavna latameh kol shebederech yiridasa leisoi mai. Rav Abahu raised an objection to the explanation of Yochanan from the Mishnah, which states, this is the principle: any murderer who kills unintentionally through his downward motion is exiled, and one who kills not through his downward motion is not exiled. Rav Abahu clarifies with regard to the phrase in the Mishnah, one who kills not through his downward motion, what case that was not already specified does this serve to add? Is it not to add a case like this and to teach that even though the death was caused by the falling rung, since the assailant was ascending the ladder at the time, he is not exiled? Rabbi Yochanan replied, and according to your reasoning, that this apparently extraneous phrase serves to include a case that is not addressed explicitly with regard to the previous phrase in the Mishnah, any murderer who kills unintentionally through his downward motion, what case that was not already specified does this serve to add? Ella soy kasav hachanami soy kasav itani kasav shoyim mikatsev tani chada l'fan of chayev l'charav pater itani idach l'charav chayev l'fan of pater tani idach bein l'fan of bein l'charav chayev tani idach bein l'fan of bein l'charav pater v'lo kashya. Rather, one may say that it serves to add the case of a butcher. Here too, in the latter clause, the phrase "one who kills not through his downward motion" serves to add the case of butcher, as it is taught in Braita with regard to a butcher who was chopping animal limbs with a cleaver. One sage taught that if he killed a person in front of him, he is liable to be exiled. If he killed a person behind him, he is exempt. And it's taught in another Braita that if he killed a person behind him, he is liable. If he killed a person in front of him, he's exempt. And it is taught in another brayta, both if he killed a person in front of him and if he killed a person behind him, he is liable. And it is taught in another brayta, both if he killed a person in front of him and if he killed a person behind him, he is exempt. And although these braytot appear contradictory, the apparent contradiction is not difficult. Kan b'yirida shelefanov v'aliyah shemachayrav. Kan b'aliyah shelefanov v'yirida shelefanov. When a butcher is about to cut the meat of an animal, he raises the cleaver and lowers it behind him in order to create momentum that will generate power. When he raises the cleaver from behind him and brings it down forcefully into the meat, in that process, the butcher lowers the cleaver in front of him and behind him, raises the cleaver both in front of him and behind him. Each of the four braytot addresses a different stage of the process. Here, the brayta says that he is liable if he unintentionally murders a person in front of him and exempt if he unintentionally murders a person behind him. If he is referring to a case where the butcher swings the cleaver with a downward motion in front of him and upward motion behind him. There, the brayta says that it says he is exempt if he unintentionally murders a person in front of him, and liable if he unintentionally murders a person behind him. Is referring to a case where the butcher swings the cleaver with an upward motion in front of him but a downward motion behind him. Kan b'yirida shelafanov v'shelachayrav. Kan b'aliyah shelafanov v'shelachayrav. In addition, here the brayta where he's liable in both instances, referring to a case where the butcher swings the cleaver with a downward motion in both in front of him and behind him. There, the brayta where he's exempt in both instances, referring to a case where the butcher swings the cleaver with an upward motion both in front of him and behind him. The two phrases that constitute the principle in the Mishnah teach that the determining factor is whether the motion is upward or downward, not whether is in front of him or behind him. This is Rabbi Yochanan's reply to the objection of Rabbi Abba. But there might allow the Marsavar Nirida he, Marsavar Aliyahi. Gemara suggests, let us say that Rabbi Abba's lemma with regard to unintentional murders committed by one climbing a ladder is a subject of a dispute between Tanaim. If one was ascending the ladder and his rung was displaced from beneath him, it is taught in one brayta that he's liable, and it is taught in another brayta that he's exempt. What? Is it not that the Tanaim disagree with regard to this? As one sage holds, it is unintentional murder in a downward motion, therefore he is liable, and one sage holds it is unintentional murder in upward motion, therefore he's exempt. Lo, the kuli high aliyah he v'likasha kan lezikin kan legalos. The Gemara rejects that parallel. No, that is not the point of contention, as everyone agrees that it is an upward motion, and there is no dispute between the sages and the braytot. Nevertheless, the apparent contradiction between them is not difficult, as here the brayta rule that rules him liable. The reference is to payment of damages, as with regard to one's liability to pay damages. There is no difference between upward and downward motions, or between intentional or unwitting damage. And there, in the brayta that rules him exempt, the reference is to exile, from which one who murders unintentionally in an upward motion is exempt by Torah edict. Abaya iboy sema if you were to say instead that both in this brayta and that brayta is a reference to exile, and it's not difficult, this brayta where the ruling is liable is referring to a case where the ruling of the ladder was worm infested, and he should have been cautious before stepping on it. That brayta where the ruling is that he is exempt is referring to a case where the wrong was not worm infested, as in that case it is murder due to circumstance beyond his control, and he could not have anticipated that the wrong would have displaced. If you want, you could say If you wish, say that both in this price and that price is the references to a wrong that was not worm infested, and it's not difficult. As this price, where the ruling is that he is exempt, is referring to a case where the wrong was tightly inserted into the ladder, and therefore he could not have foreseen that it would have been displaced. And that price is where the ruling is that he is liable, is referring to a case where the wrong was not tightly inserted. He should have anticipated its displacement. Okay, new Mishnah. Nishmat habarzel mikato yihar Rabbi Omer ein goyle v'chamim goyle minaytam amit bakayar b'yom goyle v'chamim. The Mishnah says if the blade of an axe or hatchet was displaced from his handle, it flew through the air and killed a person. Rabbi Yehoshua says he's not exiled. Rabbi saying he's exiled in a part of a tree that is being split, flew through the air and killed a person. Rabbi Yehoshua says the murderer is exiled. The rabbis say he is not exiled. The Gemara says, Tanya Amar Lahem Rabbi Lechachamim V'chi Nemar B'nashal Barzel Me'etzo V'halo Lo Nemar Ela Min Ha'etz V'od Nemar Eitz L'matin V'nemar Eitz L'mala Ma Eitz Ha'amur L'mala Min Ha'etz Midbakeya Af Eitz Ha'amur L'mata Min Ha'etz Midbakeya. It is taught in Bryce, Rabbi Yehoshua said to the rabbis, it is stated in the verse, and the blade displaces from its wood handle, but isn't it stated, and the blade displaces from the wood? Deuteronomy 19:5, indicating that there is a wood chip from the tree that causes the death of the person. And furthermore, eitz is stated below, and the blade displaces from the eitz. The eitz is stated above, earlier in the same verse, and his hand wields the axe to cut down the eitz, just as a term as stated above is referring to wood from the tree that is being split. So to the term as stated below is referring to wood from the tree that is being split, not to the wood of the axe handle. Rabbi Chia Barashi Amarav Rabbi Chia Barashi Amarav Shnei Mikra Chadash Nashal Barzel B'nei Rabbi Sofer Im Yesh Eim L'Mesoyeres Benishel Ketzi V'Rabban Sabri Yesh Eim L'Mikra B'Nashal Kainan. The Rabbi Chia Barashi says, Rav says, and both of them, Rabbi Yehoshua and the rabbis, interpret one verse to arrive at the rulings. The verse states, and the blade displaces from the wood. Rabbi Yehoshua holds that the tradition of the manner in which the verses of the Torah are written is authoritative, and one derives halacha based on the manner in which the words are written, not on the manner in which they are vocalized. And it is written venishel, a transitive verb indicating the blade displaced wood chips from the tree. And the rabbis maintain the vocalization of the Torah is authoritative, and we read the term venashal and an intransitive verb indicating that the blade is displaced from its wooden handle and kills a person. Verebi yesh ein l'zaris relay, and the Gemara asks, and does Rabbi Yehoshua hold that the tradition of the manner in which the verses of the Torah are written is authoritative?